Well, okay people, so we're back. It's the I'm still waiting for the Lego Man Biffo sound chip to come, and I haven't I don't know if I've said it before, but I haven't elected to go for the EM2 speaker at the moment, so I'm going to fit a double iPhone speaker in there, and if you know, it's no problem to go back and put the other speaker in there. I've got, over the last weekend, VE weekend that we are, I've got to know this loco very well, and it's definitely wasn't a question of running straight out the box, but I do like it. The motor on it is fantastic. It's at the moment I've got a four function decoder on there, a Bachmann 4 function decoder, so it's all working. But the lights, it's, you know, you guys with 4 and 6 function decoders, it's, you know, it's doing my head in, because all the lights are independently operated. It does me head in. If when the Lego Man comes back, when I get it, you will just press, you know, 0 means lights on front and back and whatever. So, and a cab light, so you won't get cab light at the moment. The wobble is virtually disappeared, and I can only say that with wear she'll just get better and better. And why does it wobble, guys? Well, it's those end caps they put on the end of the wheels, you know, they're just stuck on at the factory. Obviously, you know, and I don't think they're tested afterwards, they're just put on. But the frame that the end cap comes out from is actually a plug-in device that's on the bogie. The bogie is made up of quite a few elements, and it's the side frame of the bogie where the end caps come through with the 3 openings for the end caps. That's a separate bit of detail that just plugs into the main bogie frame. When I got the end caps off, and there was a video on YouTube, someone showing that they drilled out the end frames, and I thought, well, how does he get that end frame out? Well, you just put on it, guys, and it just comes out. It's not stuck in. And it's made of a sort of not your hard plastic, what do you call it, some sort of polypropylene, you know, that sort of a more flexible plastic. So it was very easy to enlarge the hole slightly, not enough, not a lot, but I've also elongated the hole a little bit, because where you're getting this wobble is, it's all very well putting the end caps on, and you're not doing that with the bogie sitting on the track or on a flat surface. So of course, once it starts rotating, if there's any off-centered, you're going to get the end cap rubbing against this frame, you know, rubbing, not rubbing, rubbing, not rubbing, and of course that's what gives you your wobble, and you don't know which one it's going to work on at the 3 axles. So basically what I've been doing over the weekend, and this is what you shouldn't be doing, I mean, you know, you pay your money, you shouldn't be expected to do that, but I've got my tools, I've got my know-how. The model itself, you know, low body wise and all the rest of it is nice, so I don't, you know, thought, send it back, what's the point, might get one that's even worse. So what I did is, I enlarged the hole, elongated it a little bit to allow for, if when it's on the track, to be, you know, the axle has got movement to, you know, rise a little bit. Stuck carefully and just left them to set for hours and hours. The end caps back on place on one side only, so, and I actually revolved it, put some power to the bogie whilst it was on, and let it self-centered, then let the glue dry, and then didn't just rely on the glue just being on the central peg. I've actually, you know, it's very easy to get in there and put some more glue around the shoulder of this end cap where it hits the wheel. So not only has it been done on it centrally, like the patterns tell you to, it's always also got some reinforcing glue going around the edge of the end cap, and the result is, well, 1000% better than what it was. There's a slight wobble still, certainly acceptable now. You probably, you know, if you didn't know about all these problems, you're happy with the way it is, and the wobble will disappear, because the wobble still caused by a little bit of rubbing, but of course it's I think it's a resin. The end caps are made out of resin, they're not plastic, and they will rub against this end frame made out of a soft plastic, polyurethane or some sort of plastic. I don't know what you call that type. It was very easy to cut. It's not like your plastic construction kit, and so that will wear against that and obviously make it better and better. But my gosh, it's running so well now. So I'm just waiting for the chip to come. I won't put the body shell back on yet because of all the little bits and pieces, you know, that you have to be careful of. There might only be 4 clips holding the body shell on, but it's all the little extra detail. Now I've gone round everywhere, including on the end pieces where the buffers are and everything, and I've literally on the back side of everything stuck super glue, because I don't know what glue they use, but you just got to sneeze and little bits fall off. You people that's got the Hatton 66, if you look at your air dams, there are little steps on each side. Well, I'll tell you what guys, you'll be lucky if you've got them all there. There's 4 of them all together. I bet you might have lost 1 or 2, because just by handling it, you know, you can catch those little things, and the glue they use is so brittle, and the openings that everything fits into is so large, you know. I mean, I super detailed one end because I've changed the buffers around, because I've got the running end to be under the exhaust. I told you I will do. So I had to take the buffer assemblies off and swap them around, and in doing so, that's when I noticed all these little bits coming off, like the coupling, and it was no problem. I hadn't lost them, I'm pleased to say, and you know, to put them back in, but the hole that they fit back in is much larger. So got it in place first of all, and then got round the back side of it where you won't see it, and put super glue, let the super glue seep in around everything. So I've done that with everything, including the buffers themselves, because the buffers are, although they're sprung, you know, they're stuck into the end dams as well, so they fall out as well. So just reinforced everything. The buffers drove me mad because they can rotate a little bit, and you know what I'm like, I'm a perfectionist, I've got to have them lined up. So they've had a little bit of card glue put in them, so they're not really sprung buffers anymore. I mean, who the hell uses a sprung buffer? I've never had to rely on it, so it's just a you know, an extra thing, which although it's nice, you end up with your buffers looking wonky, you know, so don't like that. What else have I done? Yeah, so the lighting, wow, under a 4 function controller and a 6 function controller, it's doing my head in. And this is where the Gauge Master function 2 button comes into play. You'll have to change the CV for the lights. What happens with this? You got your headlights on, and it changes direction. So at the moment, obviously, there's 3 lights you can see on the LEDs at the front, and I've got the red light on at the back, just because of, now the red light on at the back is not directional. You can turn it on and off under a 4 and 6 function controller. So obviously, to turn it off is function 1. Yeah, function 1, guys. I know, it's weird, isn't it? Right, so now I haven't got red lights on it now, and I will show you in a minute. So yeah, the red light's gone off. If you go in reverse, yes, the headlights changes reverse, but if you had the red lights on at the back, they'll still be on, so you'd have the white lights on with the red lights on. So you've got to turn function 1 back off, and then to put the lights back on at the other end, you would hit function 2. And this is where the problem with the Gauge Master comes in, because function 2 is, you know, is an on-off thing. You know, is on while you hold it, off when you let go. So you would think there's a CV change, but I don't know what that is. And it's very confusing, because I thought the lights weren't working. I thought, oh no, because I'm pressing F3, you know, and the lights weren't coming on. Well, yeah, because F3 is not for the lights, it's function 1 and function 2 and 0. Oh, and I'm not used to all that. Having all sound locos and everything, I just press 0 and the lights come on and the red lights come on, and you know, you name it, and a directional, and that's it. But this is a little bit more involved under 4 function and 6 function. Right, I'm going to stop her. So you can, it's lovely. It's got lovely tip hook wagons, making a lovely clackety clack as it's going over the gaps. But I'm going to give you a close-up now of the lights. So here we go. Right, so here we are, guys. So close-up look at the end. As I say, I'm not putting the body shell on yet until I get the proper chips. So under the 4-function decoder, you turn your lights on in the normal fashion of 0, and there's the 3 running lights. So that will give you all the correct lighting for the front of the loco now. Change direction, and that I will show you will be at the other end. But if this was a running light loco, you would need a red light. It'd be fine if it was put in a rake of wagons, and if you want to be prototypical, you wouldn't have a red light there, so that gives you that function. But if you wanted a red light there, it's function 2 on your controller. There we are. But as you know, on the Gauge Master, function 2 is an on-off. When you press and press and hold, it's on. Let go, it's off. All right. So change direction again, and we're back to normal. All right. So that's fine. Now I'm going to bring. Oh, let's do it by moving, because it's got a smashing motor in this. I mean, it's lovely. So you can see my end caps are nicely rotating and not really off-centered. They turn quite true in the bogey frame now. Right, can we see? Yeah, that's all right. So there's nothing there, no lights at all at this end, which is prototypical if it's pulling wagons. Change direction. Yeah, we got white lights. But on this one, it's function 1. And you've got your red lights, and of course because it's function 1 they would stay on. Now if I check, what's weird and where it gets good, now you can get all confused. If you change direction, I've got all the lights on. I've got red lights on and white lights on. It's crazy. Alright, so that's function 1. Well, function 1, isn't it? We're all sound. I'm a sound guy, so it's alien for me that we use function 1. Take it off, that's it. So at the other end, she's fine. So that's it with the lights. It's it's all independently controlled, but with the Gauge Master for function 2 you would have to change the CV setting. I believe someone said on a reply to one of my videos where I said about if you were using a Gauge Master controller, function 2 is a problem, but evidently it's a CV change. But sorry guys, I don't know what that is. I haven't looked into it. Right, so we're turning around. I'm going to put this is a I mean, look at that, it's lovely. So hoping when the sound decoder comes, I'm going to get the same control. I'll bring around slowly, and you will see on a close-up whether or not if it's a discernible wobble or not when she comes back round. There is still a slight one, but she will only get better. She's, as I said, 1000% better than what it was when I first started off. My heart sunk when I found it had the wobble when I put it on the rolling road. I'll put the chip in it, put it on the rolling road to run in, and there we are. Lovely. Take it up to I'll take it up to 10 and 10. Got a nice clickety clack of the tip-hook wagons then. Tip-hook? Tip-hook. I can never say that word, a bit tongue-tied. There we are, quite stable I think. So next time you'll see it, I hope it will be the body shell on and all running. With the driver I will change the CV so I can change the direction of travel and have the exhaust end as being the lead end. I've already fitted the thread to driver in these cabs. Cab ends, I'm pleased to say, are easy to get out. So once you've got the struggle with the body shell, very easy to get the cab ends out as well. It's a bit like the Class 68 dapole. You just pull the body apart a little bit, just put a little bit of pressure on the body sides to open and make it a little bit bigger, and then the thing just falls out because it's a clip either side. And once you've got one clip out, it's easy. They're not in rock hard, so that's great. Okay, now I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do, hopefully, to help me get the body ends on, the body shell on. And I'll stop this one because I think I said on my first video, you can see the body. Let's bring her into play. Right, so notice the body, guys, it's all flat, yeah? So the body shell will come down to this, you know, just here. So it's all smooth edges, yeah? So once you've done the clips, one there, there they are, that's where the clips go in, that recess is there. Once you've done the clips and you put your piece of plastic, right, in theory, it should just pull off. Well, look at your step ladders and things like that, because you will find that the little end pieces do fit into the structure of this chassis. Comes away with it. What held this chassis on and made it difficult was this bit here. They've got judicial use of some sort of clear tack to hold the wires in place. It came round the edge a little bit, and if it comes round the edge a little bit, that means it's coming into play with the body edges, yeah? So you can see it's on it. So I've got rid of all that now. The tack is still there keeping the wires in place, but I've you know, there'll be nothing stopping me from putting the body shell on. Right, so here we are, guys, better view now. So there's the location for the body clips, there and there. Right, but that's not the end of the story, is it? There's the dreaded bit of excess glue that was on each end. When you come to take this body off, guys, the only piece, right, you don't pull on the fuel tanks, you don't pull on the bogies. Whatever you do, don't pull on the bogies, you'll end up taking the whole of the gearbox, the gear train off, because unlike the Bachmann, these ones aren't screwed on. These are held in place by the clip that holds the drive shaft and worm drive assembly on top of the bogie, and it's that. So because if you release the clip from the top of the drive, from the top of the worm drive, which is very easy to do, you just remove this little contact point here. I've done it, guys, I've had to get these things out. Yeah, when you release, you know, everything falls down. The bogies only just hold on then by the wires on the pickups, all right? So there's no screw. So whatever you do, don't pull down on the bogies. Likewise, I think people have used the fuel tank and then they've ended up pulling the fuel tank off. The only location that's part of the chassis is these pieces at the end. You know, the actual part of the buffer beam, I suppose. What makes, you know, the buffer beam itself is part in front. But that's part of the metal chassis, right where my finger is touching. So what you've got to do, and I don't know if I can do this on camera, is you've got to, when you get in the body, and you've got your pieces of plastic in, you've teased out the little steps, the rails for the steps and things like that, and maybe you've got plastic underneath them. You pull down, you have to pull the body off from one end. Once you released it a little bit, that end, you know, and that's where the trouble was, because I was, you know, you were squeezing the body there because you got to watch the frames. Let's bring the body up. I'm going to swap round so you can see the little bits and pieces that's on the body shell, and brings the body shell into play, I hope. So there we are. So yeah, so you've got all these little bits, they're underneath. And in this case, because it's low emission version, you've got the ladder in the middle there. So you've got to unclip these little handrails. This is where on other models they're painted white, so you're going to lose the white paint because they've literally got to be unplicked. So as I said before, you've got to hold it there. If you can't hold it there, you're going to press the windows in, aren't you? So you're holding it there, and you've got the chassis there, and you're trying to pull it up from that end. Now all these little bits, I've gone from the inside and I've super glued them all, because they're likely to, you know, one piece did fall off. You can see the bent rail, it's got give. The end cabs just prise apart the body shell a little bit, because it's only a clip. Let's see where I can show you. The clip is, let's get to a pointer. The clip is holding it into the glass. So there's a clip there, and you can see it's actually wobbling. It's not fantastic, but it's great to get it out to put the driver in. And yeah, Fred the driver's in there in this case, so he's already in there. So number one end underneath the exhaust. But yeah, so all these little bits and pieces you've got to be very careful of. and I've super glued them because they're only just tacked in on the inside. You see, they're just stuck onto the body. There's the fixing clips there and there, and more clips there. This one's okay, this one doesn't come into it, it's all self-contained. Now, just going to show you that when I'm going to put this back onto the chassis, right, so putting it back onto the chassis, all these little clips are in the way. You can see why by holding it there and trying to take the lifted body, I was probably squeezing it onto this sticky stuff, which really caused it difficult to come off. Now that's all been removed, there's nothing on the chassis which is in the way other than the little clips. So when I come to put the body back, I'm going to use quite large pieces of plastic and almost reverse order of how you took it out. Put them in first so that when you're dropping them down, the plastic will make these clips slide over the chassis. Obviously I've got to cut these down first of all, so it only needs to be there, and then obviously one that end. And hopefully that will mean that it's pushing the chassis out. I can then pull the things out and she'll clip down. Something else that just whilst you're doing it is that they just fit in there. That's what's behind the grille. Just a little bit of detail on both sides, but they come off when you keep on handing in the chassis when it's in its naked form. So took the thing away. Let's move the body out of the way because that's delicate. There we go. So put that one back in on that side and she'll be complete. But when it's all together like this, it's just literally a slab side. It's only those little bits, you know, where I'm going to have to tease back into the little holes. There are little holes in the frame here for those end of the rails to go clip back into, and that's what people have lost, I think, when they didn't realise. Because all they say is that, oh yeah, undo the 4 clips. No, they should have told you. Look at the actually, tell a lie. I think it's in the instructions. They sort of say, be careful of this area. Yeah, well, that should have meant, you know, you've got to take the tease them out of their mountings. There's what I've done. If I want to run it light, at the moment I've got, just turn it around, I've got the good old Hunt coupling in there at the moment. There's 2 screws that hold that assembly on. Well, do you know what? It's so tight on there anyway, and it doesn't do anything because the coupling is mounted to the bogie underneath. So this is all just for show. So it would just be a question. There's the other working end. This is what I've said. I've took everything, you know, at the back. I've super glued everything. You don't see it. These are these little steps that I said you might lose because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then, as I say, the buffers are glued in, the hook is glued in, the air pipe, you know, the pipes are glued in, but not very strong. So if I wanted to be running light, I would just take that end off, remove the Hunt coupling, won't have to remove the mechanism that was behind it, and just put that back on, and I've got a light running loco. So yeah, you know what I'm like. My Evening Star's a light engine. But yes, she's running well. You saw. So all those, see, I mean, there's no wobble. She's absolutely, you know, some guy on the YouTube ended up, he said when he put it on a flat surface, he found that, you know, it was wobbling. No, this is sounder. All because all wheels now, they've got room to raise a little bit because this piece here at the very end comes out. That's where I say I've glued extra. You can see there's the clips. So when you glue it there, you know, when you put it on the centre thing, but you can see you can get in there quite easily with a piece of, you know, with in my case, a cocktail stick, and I was just putting glue and glue and glue, and put a nice shoulder of glue around the end of that end cap. Right, doesn't interfere at all with the wheels, and that's it. So it's fine. So they're all on there. Right, next one will be hopefully running around all finished. Alright people?